Christian View, and in the first segment we talked about teen suicide, but we're going to get on now to euthanasia, which is physician-assisted suicide. Lee, it's where the patient is in so much pain, and they recruit the doctor to give them a shot to end their life and stop the suffering. Now, this is much different than a person who's brain dead and been put on life support and they pull the plug. That's one thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one thing. But this is entirely different.
Right. Well, I think, you know, when we look at physician-assisted suicide, we have to remember that at that point when a doctor moves into that realm, he's playing God. And I think that, you know, doctors took the Hippocratic oath where they swore basically ethically that they were going to try to uphold life, do no harm, you know, and sustain palliative life and their palliative care. Therefore, you know, allowing the person to basically, if they're going to demise, do it under the auspices of God and not them try to play it out.
This is illegal, right?
No.
Yeah. Well, in Oregon, it has been legalized, according to what I've read. Oh, 6 states now? Okay. I had read that in 1997, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the Constitution neither permits nor prohibits
What about Georgia?
PAS.
No, it's not Georgia, but it is definitely in 5 states, and it's legal, and it's called the Death with Dignity Act, where
that's how they're labeling it now.
Yeah, because what they've done is that they've reintroduced to humans what personhood is, and so if you're a fetus, you're not a baby, you're not viable. If you're too old, you're not viable. So now that there's been a redefinition, then that means that now that they can make these decisions outside of you.
But the person does have to be diagnosed with a terminal illness that will lead to death within 6 months. I mean, there are some parameters
What
around
about if
it.
God heals within 6 months?
I'm just telling you, and they have to. And Jackie, you said that
They would
the
have
doctor,
never known, will they?
the doctor gives the injection. No, the person has to be capable of administering their own medication. Has to be confirmed by 2 physicians. There is a waiting period, and you have to live within one of those 5 states and be mentally competent.
Don't you have to be 18 as
Yes,
well? Okay.
Yes,
And that
you
way
do.
the doctor's not charged with murder.
Right. There you
I
go.
think it was good to read that in the state of Georgia, it talks about the government should not have the right to give one group of people, example doctors, the power to kill another group of people, example their patients. So at least in our state, we are, you know, not doing it legally. We won't say there aren't any physician assisted, but, you know, but legally.
We're doing a lot of it with prescription drugs. Yeah, it looks like your prescription is going to take your life. I'm telling you. That's a whole show on
Well,
its own.
and I had read that the American Medical Association, I just said to Trudy, she's a nurse, American Nurses Association have issued official position statements opposing assisted suicide based on the fact that the Hippocratic Oath and people would lose faith in the healthcare system.
I have more of a testimony. I remember we had a young lady in our church who drowned. So the doctor said, but we went to the church and we prayed. And at the end of 4 days, the doctors wanted to end her life, but we kept praying. And long story short, God brought her back. They said she was brain dead. They said she would not survive, but we kept praying. The doctor laughed at me, told me I might as well stop praying. We might as well leave the hospital, but we continued to pray to the point that this young lady, we were praying, and her sister was singing a song in her ear, and I looked at the ventilator, and the ventilator was starting to fog up. And I said, they told me, no, that's from the moisture coming from the water that's being released from where she drowned. And I said, no, her mouth is moving. And when they moved the mouth, the person who was supposed to be brain dead, she said, Pastor. So it says to me, you know, that I think that, you know, we should always go to the 0 hour and let God decide.
That's right.
God.
And that's where we come in as a church, because again, God does have a view.
Yes,
and
he
until
does.
God has said it's your time, then it's just not your time. And we can't give that right to somebody else.
Yeah, the Bible says it is appointed once unto men.
Well, I have a story like that too. My brother was airlifted to the jail, not the jail,
ER?
the ER, thank you, in Chattanooga. He wasn't supposed to make it through the night. His kidneys had shut down. They said he's going to lose his fingers, he's going to lose his feet, and I just said, not on my watch. And I just paced the floor,
There you go.
praying, and he woke up the next morning. He still has his fingers, he still has his toes, but the doctors were giving such a bleak,
They do.
you know, outcome, and I was like, he's not going to die.
The great physician.
Right.
And
And
he's
so,
one in charge.
right.
You know, and I think that what people do start to think when they've been diagnosed with a terminal illness, it's fear. You know,
Well, you
I mean,
have been diagnosed.
Yes, well, I was
You've
going to
been
say,
diagnosed.
listen, and there were, during that time period, I thought, you know, if it gets so bad where there are just tubes everywhere and all that, you know, maybe that would be a choice I would choose. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, we don't want to sound like
We would never do it.
Never,
Right.
because I think we have to determine what drives a person to this point. Because when
But
you're
Trudy, you know yourself, when it gets that bad, they give you so much medication that until the
Hospice.
Lord takes you on, you're not laying there suffering like you would think you are.
Well, I
from
mean,
what I've seen.
I've seen people suffering, and even though they have the medication, so it's
I don't
just
know.
one of those gray areas. I mean, I know what the Bible says about
You
it.
can pray that God will take you
Yes,
out.
yes, exactly.
God, take me out
Yes.
of this. I think you can do that.
Yeah.
Right.
But to do it
The
yourself.
same way that you're dealing with being able to pray and ask God for, to heal you.
Yeah.
You can decide that it's time for you to go and you want to
Yes,
come home.
yes.
And so I think it's still, yes,
much you
that's
can
the
will
choice that we
yourself.
have as Christians.
Yeah.
But and I don't think that we're dealing mainly with would we in that position or at that time make that choice. The question is, do we have the right to make that choice? Is
Yes.
it right to make
That's
that
the
choice? That's
difference.
really
About
the
some
That's
of the
the question.
benefits, so-called benefits, says that it ends suffering in cases like terminal diseases can cause a lot of physical pain, or as death nears, it allows the person to retain their dignity.
Dignity,
It makes
yeah.
grief easier to handle. But this is the one that caught my attention. Say that it lessens the cost of medical care. So are we really more focused on trying to save the doctors and hospitals?
That goes back to the money again, you know?
I thought this was so
Yeah.
interesting. The doctors that perform physician-assisted suicides their identities are kept secretive. And
Oh, wow.
they're not. You can't just like Google that. But the article said the best way to find one was in a non-faith-based hospital.
What does that tell
Yeah,
you?
right.
I'm not so. That
Yeah.
tells us a lot right there.
It
doesn't
does.
Yes, it does.
Stay with us. When we return, we're going to discuss an age-old question. If a person commits suicide, do they go to hell? We'll be right back.